Start streaming. Receiving our content. We are live. Now people just need to find us on the new link. No,
it's working.
You see me?
Hello.
Hi guys. Sorry, a little technical difficulty. You got us? All right. Volumes need to go off. Janine, you guys need to.
I'm gonna just post the link real quick.
And I'm going to post the link. Also, give us one quick moment, and then we will get people to get over here.
No matter how prepared you seem to be in life, something always
And it was a really,
its way
it was
to mess
a
it up.
really stupid.
Don't worry about it. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's figured out now. But, yeah, the funny thing is we connected several times and did a bunch of tests this afternoon, and it was just so seamless. It worked out great.
Because it was all private.
It was all private. And
I
now,
forgot to change it to public.
And now we do something here when, at the time of the moment, and it's under pressure when things fail.
Okay, after a few technical difficulties, we are live at this link. Publish.
And Janine, you got yours on your Facebook page too?
Yes, I just posted that.
Okay.
Okay, we are live. We have 7 people watching, so some people found us. Yay! Woohoo! Well,
let's just
let me find the chat. Here
little
we go.
intros.
All right, Hubbard's Travel. Hey guys.
Hey guys, that's just a little intro too.
We all waited. No one was mad. Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah. There you go.
There we go.
So you're hiding me.
Trying to make a good experience for everybody.
Well, hello guys. I'm Gary. This is Stacy, and you guys know us as Pau Hana Travels. We are here at our home now, bringing this live event to you guys to discuss our Alaska travels. We also have our great friends Brock and Janine here with us. Why don't you go ahead and say a bit of stuff about who you are, what you do, why you do what you do, just brief.
Okay. So like Gary said, I'm Janine. This is Brock. You can find us on Facebook at J9B2 Adventures.
Oh, hold on.
What?
I gotta make sure. One quick thing. Go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
Okay.
Technical.
We are full-time RVers. We just spent the entire summer in Alaska. Just like these guys, spent a lot of time actually traveling with them up there. We're really excited about it and happy to answer any questions you guys have about the experience.
Sure. Brock? No, anything about you?
No, I'm good.
All right.
I work full time from the road, so what may be of interest to some people is the fact that you can actually do this and still work 5 days a week.
Real quick. Did you guys? Can someone write if you could hear us when we were doing our intros? Hard to hear her. Okay, so.
Okay.
All right, you need to talk louder,
Hey,
more volume.
Barefoot Adventures, how is it now? Is the volume better?
It's a little quiet.
Is it better now?
I'm wondering if it's going the audio.
Good.
Hold
It
on.
says
Let
good.
me just try one thing.
Oh, we didn't. No, we did the audio earlier.
Well, it seemed low to me too. I'm just curious if it's picking up the audio off the laptop.
So you guys are experiencing a first-time live view with more than just a webcam. We're actually using some of our DSLR camera and a shotgun microphone and all that kind of stuff. So
Is this better?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Is this better? Of course, there's a delay on the.
yeah, of course there is.
Hugo Hackenbush,
man.
I love his comments. He says it's fine
Fine
now.
now.
Have to start somewhere.
So y'all can see our big old road mic here now. Great.
Ooh, this is called a dead cat. All right.
Don't move it too much; it'll get noisy.
Yeah.
Just set it and forget it.
Yes, better. Okay.
Do we need to go back and do intros? No, intros are done.
We're good.
I think
Questions?
People
Well,
have been watching.
I was kind of finishing the comment about being able to work full time from the
Yeah.
road.
Okay.
And for those escapers who are still working and those kinds of things, if you have any questions about how we did it, Janine and I did it, because we had to have, from Monday through Friday, we had to have a good internet connection so that I could work online and Janine could work online. So if you have any questions about tools that we used, techniques that we used, so on and so forth, we can help with that too.
And that's another reason why we wanted to bring you into this, is to give people that other side of having to work while on the road. I mean, actually necessity of working on the road.
And just a
and how
second
important it is.
perspective.
And the second perspective of Alaska and the travels too. So please, by all means, folks, answer or ask any questions, and we'll
Hubbard-
start it.
Hubbard's Travels does have a question. They want to know, what are we drinking? I'm pouring. I have a Coke.
I've got Stone Ghost Hammer IPA. I haven't had this one yet, so we'll see how it goes.
I feel embarrassed that I have Pibber, but that's
PBR.
some PBR.
I'm boring too. I'm drinking a seltzer right now, but only because I forgot to get something more interesting
Right.
before we started.
And then I got a second one in lineup. It's from Crux Brewery in Bend, Oregon. It's the Cast Out IPA. So there you go.
Move Mike closer to him.
Everybody just speak up. We'll
Okay.
talk loud, like everybody's hard of hearing. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know
Maybe
why
that'll
the
help.
mic's not working so well.
All right. Well, where do we begin?
I know a good place to begin,
Okay.
if I might. So a lot of people ask, and I've learned this now, what's the biggest thing about RVing to Alaska? The biggest thing, in my opinion, is Canada.
It is
Yes.
huge.
Yes.
Canada is huge.
It's huge.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
They take great care of their parks, and it's just a fantastic experience with the people and everything else. And I did not expect to love Canada as much as I did, and that's one of our biggest takeaways together has been Canada.
You
So-
don't want to blow through Canada. Make time for Canada because it is spectacular.
You've got to plan that time, and it's not just BC. You're going to go through Yukon Territory too, so
And
make sure you plan that time to spend a little bit more extra time in BC and Yukon. It's beautiful.
And if you get a chance, go through Banff and Jasper National Parks.
And the Icefields Parkway.
Yep, drive the Icefields Parkway. We've been on the road for full time for over 2 years all over the country. And for me, that was the most gorgeous, spectacular, beautiful drive that we've done the whole time.
Have you been through the Tetons?
Yes.
And it was much more beautiful than
Yeah.
Tetons.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Brenda has a question specifically. She was asking me for what carriers do we have, and this is a great question because we need a good connection. We definitely count on multiple carriers. So we have AT&T and Verizon, and our experience has been, depending on where you are in the continental or in the lower 48, it's always Verizon's been better for us. If it's Alaska, AT&T was far superior.
By far.
And based on plans and a bunch of other stuff, AT&T actually worked out best for us in Canada as well. So we did a couple different things. We did a couple of different things. But it was really based on having multiple carriers. But in Alaska, AT&T was far superior.
There was no way that we could have gone to Alaska and worked full time without AT&T. It's just it wouldn't have been possible this year. Canada's a different experience, but the best advice I can give you for your providers is you can go to the store and you can call customer service and they will tell you something.
They
and
will lie.
I can almost
They will
guarantee
lie to your face.
when you get there, you're
It'll
going
be a
to have a
difference.
different experience.
Yes.
And that's what we found with AT&T and Verizon, and I think you guys found that with T-Mobile.
T-Mobile
It
was
was-
almost non-existent.
Well, I take that back. That's
Really?
not correct. So we carry 3 carriers on the road. Our cell phones are Verizon. We have a unlimited, it's right here, jetpack on AT&T. This is only good in the United States. And then we also carry T-Mobile unlimited phone. In Canada, my T-Mobile phone rocked it. I had, in Canada, you're not you're not on Verizon or AT&T towers. You're on Bell,
Rogers.
TELUS, Rogers. Nothing that we have here in the U.S. So typically, both our Verizon and our T-Mobile phones, because those are actual phones that we have, would roam very nicely on those towers. T-Mobile, I could actually every once in a while get a video up. I never got throttled. Verizon throttled us. I never really experienced it on my way down because half the time we were in zero cell phone coverage, or the other half I was just on the T-Mobile because it worked.
One thing specifically about Verizon that I want to point out is we have and we carried one of the largest plans that you could get, which was an 80 gigabyte plan, and that you're paying for 80 gigabytes, not unlimited, 80 gigabytes. And so it's very clear with Verizon when I asked them, I said, when we go through Canada, are we going to get throttled? And they said, absolutely not. You will not get throttled. Your plan is you're paying for that, so you'll always have it. They lied. Don't believe a damn thing they say. When we got to Canada, they throttled us after half a gigabyte
per day.
And it was so ridiculous that I called Verizon, then I got their international support. I got all the way to a guy who literally told me, you should not be throttled, but you are, and I don't know what to do. And I put it on, and she heard it. She heard him say it. And I was just beside myself. So whatever they tell you in the store, don't listen to them, don't believe them, don't trust them, because they're all lying about it. Or actually, you know what? That sounds really terrible. They're not lying.
They're not lying.
They just don't know.
They don't know.
They don't know.
Because they're relying on other services' towers.
And
Right.
T-Mobile in Alaska roamed on AT&T and GCI, which is the local carrier in Alaska.
Barefoot Adventures has a question
Well,
there.
There's a
somewhere
few lined
before
up.
him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we covered the coverage
Right.
pretty
Yeah.
well.
Phone coverage.
Yeah.
If you have more questions about carriers, please feel free to PM us. I also have inside information. If you're needing an unlimited, unthrottled AT&T plan, I can help you out there. But get a hold of me separately, and I can give you more info.
Okay. Next question.
So the next question is Barefoot Adventures. Did you experience any damage to rigs?
You guys go first.
Why do you laugh so much?
I'm not, I mean,
So
More to our truck
more to
than
the
our
truck,
rig.
more to the truck than the motorhome. The motorhome actually sustained very well. We didn't have no rock chips in the windshield on the motorhome,
which is
which
shocking.
is amazingly crazy,
Yeah.
shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, not even any big paint chips in the front of the motorhome. So we did
No.
great there. However, the truck on our trip up through BC and Yukon, we went across some gravel roads, and it was really sticky tar kind of gravel, and
pelted
our
our
bumper and our headlights, and the bumper is going to have to be refinished, and the headlights probably have to be, I don't know, buy new ones or something. But it didn't break the lenses, but it just made big marks on them. We also had 6 or 7 rock chips in our windshield in the truck.
And that was just driving the highway, asphalted highway in Fairbanks.
Well,
nothing mechanical.
But no, all the rock chips we got from the windshield were actually from driving the truck, not from towing the truck.
Yes.
We got 2 of them in Fairbanks. We got 3 of them on the Prudhoe or Dalton Highway,
And 2 on the Parks.
2 on the
in
Parks
Denali.
Highway. So it happens.
Couple from him.
Yeah, Brock.
They have a couple from us.
Brock threw 1 at me, and I threw 2 back at him.
So, and for us, our rig actually did really, really well. We did take a couple of small rock chips to the windshield, but honestly, everything you've heard about you're going to get chips in your glass and all that stuff is 100% true.
Yep,
You
expect
can
it.
take that to the bank. Don't think you're going to go to Alaska and not come back with some rock chips or even a cracked windshield.
I am surprised that we did not get any chips in our motorhome windshield. I don't know how that didn't happen, but we have not received a rock chip from the Alaskan roads or BC roads on our motorhome.
The only thing with the motorhome that we had slight damage, which we're still assessing, is our receiver hitch that was towing the
Yes.
truck from the frost heaves. The frost heaves are like a huge inverted speed bump. where the ground underneath the asphalt thaws from the permafrost and leaves a big dip. You don't see them until you're practically on top of it. It's not as bad as people say. You just see you see it and you slow down. A good indicator that the white line will kind of start doing this.
But those frost heaves are, they'll do damage. And I think what happened is a receiver hitch, the 2-inch square receiver hitch where the stinger plugs in, it itself kind of failed a little bit. It bent. And it wasn't the stinger, it was just the hitch.
The constant frost heaves, I think, did it.
But I think in general, the roads, we've talked about this before, is that you come back from Alaska and everybody says, well, how are the roads? The roads are terrible, blah, blah, blah. Honestly,
different than a
they're
back
just
road
not that
highway.
bad.
They're not.
If you take it easy and you look for the little flag markers for frost heaves and stuff like that, it's just not that big of a deal. We actually, as a group, drove the pretty much the worst road that
Richardson?
you could drive. No.
Oh.
Top of the world.
No.
Dalton. And that leads to our next question.
Yeah.
Frank and Kathy Moore asked, we would like to go to Prudhoe, but not take our motorhome.
Perfect.
Smart advice.
Do not take your motorhome.
Very good
Don't
advice.
take your motorhome.
What do you suggest we do to accomplish that?
Take your Jeep.
Well,
Take your Ford F-150.
we did exactly that. We parked our rigs at the local Elks Lodge in Fairbanks for the weekend, and we piled up in our tow vehicles with tents in hand, sleeping bags, pillows,
Cook
food,
stoves, food.
and we drove 8.5 hours each day. Our first day, we ended up at Galbraith Lake. It's a free campground.
Oh my gosh.
Incredible.
North Slope is incredibly beautiful.
Incredible.
On the tundra, holy cow.
The sun never set because we were north of the Brooks Range. It just circled above us. It was amazing.
And since, that's probably a question that's going to come up. What was the best part of the trip for me? It was our trip to Prudhoe Bay. And
I second that.
It was that weekend that we took, and we left on a Friday. We drove to Galbraith. We camped on the tundra. We 4-wheel drive out onto the tundra, away from a campground.
Yeah.
We were by ourselves.
Pitched our tents.
Pitched our tents.
Yeah.
It was
incredible.
Fun adventure with like instant meals over the
The
campfire.
backpackers' food and all that.
Yeah.
But it was a great time. And then we went to Prudhoe Bay and did the tour. We did the Arctic plunge.
We jumped in that water.
Yeah. And the deal was you got to get your head underwater, which we did.
Yep.
And swam in the ice, the sea
Bye,
ice.
Hubbard's. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, have a travel goodbye. Good luck on your adventure with the movie.
So Frank and Kathy are adding an extra element to this. They do not have a tote.
Oh,
Actually,
rental car.
This is a really good thing.
yeah.
So
Yes.
in Fairbanks, there are companies
Rentals.
that specifically set you up with a rental. And what's important about that is they give you not one, but 2 spares.
Mm-hmm.
They give you basically
Extra
all the
fuel.
things that you need in order to actually do that trip safely and comfortably. So check into them. There's a couple of them that specialize in it. And so you don't have to worry about like extra insurance and a bunch of other things, because actually some of the rental car places specifically say you cannot drive up
But
there.
I know
there are
there's an
places in
outfit
Fairbanks.
out by the airport.
Yeah.
It's Dalton Highway Rentals or
Yep.
something like that.
And they'll give you the fuel cans and the tires and instructions on how to use everything.
Make a weekend of it. There's
Yep.
also tours. There's flight tours.
That's cheating.
There's bus tours. That's cheating.
It's beautiful.
Well-
it's a long drive, but worth it.
And
Yeah.
what I was going to say too, if you don't want to camp with a tent, you can stay in Coldfoot.
Mhm.
They have accommodations there, and you can also stay up at Prudhoe Bay. There's hotels up there. You just need to make reservations in advance for those because they do fill up with a lot of the workers that are up there.
And watch out for sticker shock, because you
Very-
will see that.
Very small rooms.
It's expensive.
No private bathrooms.
It's like
limited
200 a
private
night
bathrooms,
or
Yeah.
and they're
more.
pricey. That's why we decided to tent camp,
But
but it is available.
At Dead Horse Camp, we were upstairs and we saw the shared bathroom.
It's
very nice.
Very nice. Very nice setup.
yeah.
And we had lunch at one
Yeah.
of the other camps.
Mhm. But if you are even thinking about doing Prudhoe Bay, really you need to figure out a way to do it. It was an amazing trip.
And that gets into would a truck camper make the trip down Dalton? And yes,
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes,
We
absolutely.
saw a lot of those.
We
Yeah.
we even saw when we were in Prudhoe. Remember the Class C?
The little
It was
Class
a
C.
beater, and it made it.
Yeah.
Well,
That was a slow trip, I'm sure.
and I don't think that it's a matter of would you make it even in a Class A. I think you would make it,
Mhm.
but it would just beat the heck out of your rig.
It would be a
It
slow
would
go.
be sandblasted. It would be
Yeah.
rock blasted. It would just not be fun.
They put a chemical down on the road, calcium carbonate,
Yeah.
Carbonate.
and it puts a good layer of calcium crust.
And any moisture, it makes that dust and everything stick to your truck even more.
So that's
So-
another expense. When you get back to Fairbanks, you need to go find a car
Figure-
wash and do it quick.
Figure $45 in 3 hours.
Yeah.
One thing that did get asked earlier was also, I think, from Barefoot Adventures, talking about was there any mechanical issues?
On Dalton?
In the trip.
On the trip.
We didn't have any mechanical issues.
No.
The only thing that failed for us was inside of our passenger side headlight. There's a reflector,
Yeah.
and it's a metal piece that bounced out from all the rough roads.
Mhm.
And so the downside is that thing wants to just break off light bulbs now. So we're
But
putting new
You have
headlights
new headlights
Yeah.
in the route now.
Other than that, we didn't.
I don't think
We had a mechanical exhaust leak.
Oh, that's
you know
right.
what?
Well,
You
on
know
the
what?
truck.
We should
Should we
tell people what kind of rigs we have because they may not know.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
So
Because that's material.
we've got a 2016 Fleetwood Discovery 37R. So it's a 38-foot diesel pusher, and we tow an F-150 truck.
And we have a 2014 Winnebago Class A gas, and we pull a two-door Jeep Wrangler behind that. So
Yeah.
just to put it in
Just to put in
context,
perspective, what we have.
So for us,
You
we did-
changed an air filter in your rig.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
It
after
It
It
needed
needed
it.
But I mean, just to give an idea, there was never a point where the rig wasn't going to make it, or there was an issue, or it was very easy driving. It's just you got to be prepared that on any given day, like if you were in the southeast United States, doing a 500-mile day is not a big deal.
you're not
You're
going
not
to
going to do that in Alaska.
Well, it's
And
hard to drive 500
Yeah.
miles in Alaska.
one
That's
other
true.
thing, I got to back up a little bit too, and say we have the Discovery and the F-150 truck, and we also had our four-wheeler in the back of the truck. And with that, backing up again about damage we received, coming home through the Tok cutoff, like literally our second day from leaving Alaska, exiting Alaska, we went over a frost heave, and somehow the four-wheeler and the back window of the truck met and broke out, or spiderweb the windshield.
Well,
So that's the damage we received.
and then the damage to the exhaust pipe.
Well, yeah, that was that wasn't due. That was due to four-wheeling, off-roading
On the Stampede Trail.
on the Stampede Trail and the other
I-
off-road trails.
I want to add just one thing about Prudhoe Bay real quick. If you're thinking about going up there and you want to get to the Arctic Ocean, the only way that you can do that is to pay to go on a tour.
Yes.
And you need to reserve that in advance because they do a background check. So if you drive all the way up there without doing that, there's no way that you're going to get to the Arctic Ocean, and you'll just be kind of stuck in the little town.
And it's $65 per person
right.
For that tour. We did it through Dead Horse Camp. I think they're the only ones that do it.
I think so.
So
Very worth it.
there's two other questions I think that we haven't addressed yet. So there's one that's a little bit more general about a breakdown on how much we spent on the total
I
trip.
can answer some of that.
Okay, and then there's another one that says,
Hey, thanks for joining us, Bill. We'll see you soon.
do you recommend bringing extra filters?
I would. There's so many auto parts stores and all.
Yeah.
There's a
There's
Napa.
AutoZone,
There's a Napa in
Napa.
almost every little town.
Yeah.
So
So
don't necessarily bring
you
them.
can pretty much get what you need. And I think that's kind of the mystique about going to Alaska, right? It's like go up there into the wilderness.
You got to bring everything with
It's
you.
like you
Yeah.
see the movie Into the Wild, right?
Yeah.
And we actually drove.
We drove half
the
that
road where
13 miles of
he
it.
hiked out to the Magic Bus. Now
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you, but that's
It's
a
not.
road.
It's not that far into the
It's
wild.
not that far into the wild. Anyways,
Yeah.
So there's stores, there's stuff out there.
I mean, almost every little town had a Napa. or
Right,
something,
yeah.
some model
So,
plus.
Yeah.
more.
What do you think cost-wise?
So for cost-wise, fuel was actually less expensive in Alaska
Than here at
than
home.
it was in the lower 48.
Well, I can't say
In
lower
Canada.
48. Say in Washington.
Well, in
We
Canada.
don't know what it is.
Well, I was, a lot of times people would post what fuel was around the country, and we were,
So in Anchorage, Alaska, at Costco,
We paid
$2.21 for diesel. That was
Yeah.
the lowest we paid.
So, and we had the same experience, but what I was surprised by was that diesel was actually less than
Than
unleaded in
yes,
a lot of
and
cases.
normally in the lower 48,
Right.
it's
It's the other way
swapped.
around.
So for us, just in the disco, for diesel fuel, for the entire summer, we spent $3,152.79.
And that was 6,600 miles.
6,610 miles.
I'm going to pull a Johnny Carson for anybody who knows who that is. We spent, I don't know, whatever it took to get there and back.
Karnak.
We
That's
get,
Karnak. The Magnificent.
We
you know who that
I know
is.
who that is.
That's good.
Another expense of ours. So we were on the road a total of 125 days, and that was 124 nights. Of that, 56 nights we actually paid for some type of camping, be it a campground, an RV park, or even paying in a parking lot to park. Of those 56 nights of paid camping, we paid $1,229 in camping fees. Now, the really cool fact is we camped 68 nights totally 100% free in boondocking locations. So we kept an average, it was
That's a cool stat there, too, though.
yeah,
We'll get to
$9.91, I think, was our average per day for the 124 nights on the road. And our goal was to keep it under $10, and we squeaked just right underneath that. Of those 56 nights of paid camping, only 18 of those we were hooked up to electricity. And of that 18, only 4 were full hookups.
Full hookups including water, power, and sewer. So most of them, if we had hookups, it was just power. Some of them were power and water, but very, very few were the full service. Full
So
meal
be
deal.
prepared to boondock, even if you're going to pay for, because there's a lot of campgrounds that are dry, and you still got to pay to park there. So be proficient with your dry
And now
camping.
you guys experienced, you camped a bit differently, where you were actually at a campground for
Right.
a week or so at a time,
Right.
and had to at the RV park kind of thing.
Right.
Not all the time though.
No, so ours was generally a little bit more, probably.
Yeah, ours was more expensive because what I was doing was I was planning in advance where we were going and making a reservation at a spot that I knew we would have reliable cell phone
Bingo.
service. So, there was a lot of places, well, I don't know about a lot, but there were several places that they camped that were absolutely gorgeous, and we would have loved to have stayed there, but we could only go visit them on the weekend and spend the night, just because the cell phone service wasn't as good in those spots. Not to say that you can't find boondocking that has good cell phone service,
You
because
can.
we did find
Yeah.
that as well. But I was trying to make sure that we were going to be good for the week of working, so I made reservations in advance at campgrounds.
Just to finish up the expenses, we paid for the entire summer only $156 for propane. I think we only filled our tank 3 times.
3 times, yeah.
We have a 38-gallon tank. We only paid to dump or get water. I'm not sure how many times, but we only paid $25 total. I think it was only 2 or 3 times that we actually had to pay to dump and fill. There's many places up there that you can find for free, gas stations.
Really RV friendly.
Yes.
The whole state, everywhere we've traveled was very RV. I mean, you can find free dumps
One
almost
thing,
anywhere you go.
once you land in the Yukon, you'll find this newspaper. This one's for the Yukon, and there's another one that says Alaska. And it will tell you everywhere where you can dump as well as another source of where you can find places.
We picked that up at Mile Zero and Dawson Creek, right?
That one we actually got at Watson Lake. once we were in the
Okay.
Yukon.
I've officially learned something on this call. I had no idea that existed.
Really?
I saw them.
There you go.
Take a look.
They have great recipes for fireweed in there.
Fireweed is great.
And then the other stat that I kept, we paid $1,347 on tours the entire summer, and that's all the way in Canada when we were at the glacier at the ice fields, from Fairbanks doing the dredge and the riverboat tour, going to the Chena Ice Museum, the oil fields tour, river rafting, jet boat tour, fishing, our Spencer Glacier float, and our glacier hike.
Mm-hmm.
And expenses can vary widely depending on what you want to do.
Yep.
Tours are very expensive, and there are a lot
And
of
there's a-
awesome ones in every single location. So
Huge
it's just
variety of
depends
tours.
on-
Now-
Some of us wanted to take an airplane to go see the bears, but no.
It's like,
Hey, the
what
Bears
was
are gonna
it,
be there in 2
$700
years.
a person?
It was
$700. So, just as a sidebar, lots of people that we went with all have cameras. I am a photographer myself, and they got pictures of bears. I have a whale, so
breaching.
a breaching whale.
Breaching whale, very good
which was
picture.
cool.
But go ahead.
Well,
No, I was just going to answer another question that was on here.
okay.
Oh.
About tours, though, there are great ways to save money. So almost all of our tours, all but 2 of them, we got buy one, get one for free with this Alaska Tour Saver book. And it has tours all throughout Alaska, and it's broken up by region. And this book is more the tourist book.
It costs $100, right?
It's around $100.
You use it once or twice, and it's paid for.
Right, and
Yeah.
they offer discounts too,
Mhm.
so keep an eye on their website because they do discounts fairly frequently. But this is the one that going up there, we knew everybody said make sure that you
Get
get
it.
this tour book.
So toursaver.com. That's this one. And then the locals
Better option.
Yes.
use the Northern Lights. Now down in the lower 48, this is like the entertainment book. And this is going to have your tours, it's going to have restaurants, it's going to have haircuts.
Yep.
It's
It's your normal day-to-day stuff that you're
veterinarian.
going to use every day. So,
If you need your nails done.
and it can be bought online too, I believe.
I don't know, but I do remember Ben and Rebecca saying
Yeah.
you can buy this
I
at
think you
grocery
can.
stores
or bookstores. Like
bookstores.
I bought ours at like a Chamber of
Here.
Commerce
Yeah.
kind of place.
www.alaska-discounts.com.
And that one has a lot of the same discounts as the Tour Saver book. There's a few that are different, but I think both of them on their websites have a full list of the coupons that are offered, so you can look at them in advance. But this one is much less expensive. I want to say it's like $50 or
$60.
$55, and it has some really great restaurant discounts in there that you can use.
It's like the Alaska Railroad.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the one that if you're gonna pick one, I would recommend that.
and
one.
this is more year round versus the Tour Savers more around the tourist season.
So Brenda had asked, what about a large blowout and what about a blowout on a large Class A? I think it speaks more towards like roadside assistance, that kind of stuff. It really depends on the path that you take, especially through Canada. We went the Cassiar up and came back the Alaska Highway.
Yeah.
And we did the
We did the opposite.
opposite.
So if you broke down on the Cassiar going up, you're going to be there.
You're going to be there for a while.
Very little traffic.
A while might be 8 hours.
Well, and we experienced the Cassiar on the way down, and cell service is very, very,
None.
very
There's
non-existent.
none.
So you're going to need to get in. If you have a breakdown with your motorhome, you're going to need to get into your toad and drive to cell
Or
service to
flag
call.
someone down.
Yeah,
There's
and if-
trucks on that road, but not as many.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a big consideration.
The regular route up with the Alcan
But-
is
Yeah.
The
Really nice.
Cassiar is beautiful, and I highly suggest you do one up and the other down, vice versa.
But if you go through, or if you go the Alaska Highway all the way up, it's populated the whole way.
Yep.
There's
Cell
towns,
phone
there's
coverage
cell phone
every
coverage
day.
the whole way.
And
I would recommend doing the Cass Air if you can. If it
beautiful.
fits
And
into your
Hyder.
schedule. Yeah.
You guys didn't get to experience
No.
Hyder.
Hyder was cool.
We ran out of time.
But if you're referring to, do I need to bring a spare tire with me? We did run into another acquaintance that actually did carry a 21.5 inch or 22.5
On their
inch
Toad.
tire on the top of his Toad, just in case. He never needed it, which is fairly typical. You're not going to, we didn't experience any road hazards.
There's
in our
enough
motorhome.
help around.
And if you have a decent roadside assistance program, the ones we have, they will bring a tire to you.
Yeah.
If you have a complete blowout, they'll bring a tire to you. You may have to wait a little bit.
If you can get a hold
Yeah.
of them.
So, but to add to that, if you were to really consider what were the worst roads, top of the world highway, I know you're going to
Chicken
disagree.
By
Yeah, I'm not
far
gonna
the
disagree.
worst.
No,
Top of the road highway
out of all Alaska.
is the worst road, and the cost to benefit. Sorry, everybody raves about it, but I will tell you straight up, we saw so much more in Canada, in Banff, Jasper. We drove that road, and when
But-
we said we had to drive, hang on,
Compare it to Destruction, not Banff.
no, I know, but
Because there's only two ways
Compared to the
into
other way in.
Alaska.
Compared to the other way in.
yeah, but the other way is paved.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
to be fair, the day that we did Top of the World Highway, for part of it, there was very low cloud and fog cover, so we did not get the spectacular views
And we
that
had
we would have seen
we
on
had
another
we had
day.
clear
Bluebird days.
skies, and it was beautiful.
And the other
and you
thing
get
is,
to Dawson City on that
Right.
route, which is amazing.
Right, Dawson City is
loved
amazing.
that, and that made it worth it for us. But if I had known in advance how bad that road was going to be, we would not have taken our rig on
and
that
the other
road.
thing with that is they grade it once a year.
Yeah.
and we
were
were
in
on it within
early.
1 week of opening.
It opened after 1 week after. They were at the very end of the season
season.
with only 1 or 2 weeks left of the road.
Yeah.
So they hit it at the very worst. We hit it at almost the best.
So there's two more very direct questions. One is which miles per gallon. Ours is about 7.5. We're
7.
pulling,
Seven
We're
and a
pulling
half,
7.5 to 8 when we're pulling the F-150.
and your total watts on solar. Now we don't have solar. We run our generator an hour and a half a day, roughly. We do have a full coach inverter, a Magnuson 2800. You have the same thing.
We
I
have the
think?
same inverter.
Yep. So we run 110 volts, all our appliances and all that, but we just run the generator. You guys, how much solar do you have?
I've got 1,040 watts of solar on top. I've got a 6-pack of 6-volt batteries, giving me about 600 amp hours. If you break that down, it's actually only 300 usable amp hours. Alaska's funny because it's sunny all day.
all
All
night.
day and sometimes all night. But with that, and with our solar panels, I was kind of playing. Really want to see how it worked. And the sun rises, or like in the morning, it rises in the eastish. It'll rise over here, and it'll skate low on the horizon all day long and set way over there. So there really isn't a great, you can't position your rig facing east or facing south or west to benefit solar as well. It's just so low on the horizon, you're not getting a whole bunch of input. You're getting a little bit more all day, but you're not getting a whole bunch.
And we kept our panels flat. We didn't tilt ever in Alaska.
I mean, having solar panels definitely helped. There was quite a bit of time we did not have to run a generator. I could get up in the morning and run the coffee pot without having to turn on Jenny. It was great. However, once we got this down towards down towards Kenai and Anchorage, the weather changed, and we really did have to rely on our generator a lot more just because of the weather. But having the solar is awesome. I would always suggest it.
and it was cold at night, so the heater was on all night,
Right.
draining our battery. So
Mhm.
So then we get to where'd you find water to refill your tanks? For us, we spent a lot more time in places that we could be hooked up, mainly for work, just so that we would have a stable connection. I think you guys did it more at the dump.
We use
gas stations,
and we just
RV parks.
whatever apps we can find. Apps will tell you where there's water and sewer and dumps and stuff like that
What
too.
apps?
What apps did you use mostly?
Allstays.
I drove, and she told me where to go. But yeah, All Stays is great.
All Stays, well, RV Parky is another one.
And also just some of the compendium apps and stuff like that.
Compendium.
Tells you where stuff
A lot
is.
of times, too, you can still go to an RV park and pay $1 or $2 and fill with water. So
That's right. On our way into
Whitehorse.
We stopped at an RV park, Pioneer
We didn't
RV
realize
Park,
there was free water at Walmart.
and it cost us a toonie, and we got water.
So another good question though.
You know, real quick, one other thing for where to find water. I don't want to lift it up because the microphone's on it, but the milepost guide,
They can see it.
which is like the Bible for going to Alaska, has a lot of information in it, and that also has information on where you can find water and dumps and
yeah.
free camping or paid camping. So that's another good resource.
Not as much free camping because a lot of the RV parks, they pay to be in this book. So they don't show a lot. There are some. But Compendium was huge.
Freecampsites.net.
And overnightRVparking.com.
OvernightRVparking.
Some of those are paid subscription services, but well worth it. It's less than one night of.
So one of the other questions we got was, how much fresh water do you carry? For us, we carry about 60 gallons, and 60 gallons between the two of us. And we actually shower twice a day because we run every day. And I got to shower in the morning. I guess you shower
I
once a day.
shower after I run.
Yeah.
But that will last us. We can go about 12 days.
Yeah, about 12 days.
And that's for cooking, cleaning, washing dishes, for the bathroom, for showering, everything. They're army showers. They're quick, but
Turn the water on, turn it off. We have actually a really
On switch.
cool setup on our rig that we put in.
and our gray tank will hold more. And we also carry extra water containers, but we don't have a gravity fill on our freshwater tank. So right now we don't have a way to get fresh water into our tank other than a hose.
But they do.
Yeah. We carry 100 gallons of fresh water. 57 gray and
45 and 60.
Yeah, 45 and 60 on the gray and black. And we can very comfortably, very comfortably go for a week, and have on several occasions gone 12 days on that water, and we use our tanks for drinking, cooking, showering, everything.
Dishwasher.
Washer, dryer, clothes.
We don't have either of those luxuries.
And that's the other thing, I want to use my motorhome the way it's set up. I don't want to have to rely or tie myself to drinking bottled water, because then that's something else I have to store and find a place for. So I manage and then maintain my tanks. Every couple of months, I'll sanitize my whole
Good
tank
night,
system.
Bruce.
So,
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. So I'm not afraid to use, and we're not afraid to use our freshwater system for drinking and everything.
We do too.
Yeah. It's just manage it, sanitize it, and call it good.
Barefoot Adventures asks, I hear Alaska's very RV friendly.
Very much so. Everybody, everybody we ran into was very friendly. We didn't have a really bad experience anywhere, I don't think.
Except for on the river, Susitna River.
What are you talking about, Susitna River?
The bus.
Well, that's nothing big. That's your personal opinion. We're not going there.
I think, though, that as a logistical challenge, there's so many people that RV in a very short span of time that you have to be cognizant of the fact that there's a lot of people on the road at that very small window of time. And so if you're going to go to an RV dump, or you're going to get water, or you're going to do those things, you're going to be pretty much in a line
Somebody
waiting
else is gonna be there
for certain things. But if you know that going into it, it's just like the roads. People say the roads are terrible. They're not that bad. If you know ahead of time that you just got to be careful. That's all.
The other thing I found is I'd say over 50% of the RVs in Alaska are locals.
And rentals.
Well, and rentals.
Locals or rentals.
But there's tons of locals out there because it's the only time they get to recreate. In the winter they're huddled inside, so they make the best of summer. And then the rentals are everywhere, and it's a little scary.
Just gotta watch out for them. And, a lot of yes, some of them rentals are locals. A lot of them are foreigners, and they may or may not know the proper techniques on driving and operation of a motorhome.
They may take a 3-inch line a black line, hook it up, and just spray it kind of in the general direction of the drain. A black line.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. You did, didn't you?
We've heard stories.
Yeah, so
You've got to be very careful. Have your own water fill, clean.
have your own procedure to keep your tank sanitized and clean.
Yeah, because.
Oh, so nobody asked, but I'm going to put this in there anyways. The biggest challenge that I personally had in this whole trip occurred at the beginning, and that was I'm very sensitive to light in the sense that I gotta have the sun. Gray days drive me nuts, and so I thought, oh, I'm going to Alaska.
Right.
This is going to be great. It's sunny all the time. Oh my gosh,
It's sunny all the time.
It took about 2 weeks to really adjust. I literally had to set an alarm on my phone to tell me to go to bed.
Yeah, but for me, we had to black out the coach. So that meant blacking out skylights. That meant blacking out vents. That meant drawing all the curtains and everything to make it nighttime in the coach. Because, and I can't stress enough that if you're sensitive to this, it really screws with you.
There's a good adjustment period.
Yeah,
it really is.
There's no transition between when you're done doing something for the day and you think you should start going to bed until you should go to bed. We'd be sitting out at a campfire and it would be 11 midnight and it would look like 6 o'clock at night.
You just don't know what time it is. I mean, Stacy actually got to the point where she was setting an alarm to remind her, hey, it's like 10 o'clock. It's time to start going to bed.
Time to wind down.
You have to do that kind of stuff.
And it starts early. Our last dark night was May 20th in Dawson Creek. The higher we went, the lighter and longer. And if you look back on our channel, we have a couple, and I think you guys have a couple of time lapses to show that it
didn't get dark.
So the next question: what are your top three must-see places? So for us, Prudhoe Bay.
This is his list.
Come on. For me, Prudhoe Bay, Homer. I really liked Homer and the fishing, and generally the stuff that we did there. I'm not quite sure what the third. Well, no, somewhere. Okay, are we talking Alaska only?
Just do Alaska. Yeah.
So it would be Prudhoe Bay, Homer, and then trying to get an arm. Just seeing
that whole area.
Yeah,
that beautiful area.
Yeah. I mean, those are the three things that just jumped to the top of my mind. What about you?
That's a really tough question. I think I would agree on the Prudhoe Bay and on Homer. I might also add Valdez in there too. I really liked it down there. It was just a small, little town.
It felt different there.
But the drive there was gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, yes.
What's your top three?
I really enjoyed. Well, obviously Prudhoe was top of everything. I really enjoyed Denali.
Which is funny, we didn't even mention that.
That's right. The whole reason to go to Alaska. No.
We never got to see the mountains, but it was our first chance of really seeing big grizzly bears, which was really cool. But the day was long. It's 12 hours on a bus, and you're getting bounced around, you're crowded, you're around 50 other people, and it's hard. There's no food. You have to pack your own food, so you got to make sure you're prepared. However, we went on an epic picnic on the Denali Highway, which is not in the park, but you're going to experience the same feel as going up the park road in Denali National Park by going on the Denali Highway. And we saw some amazing views. We had an amazing lunch.
Oh, yeah. If anybody's interested, facebook.com/J9B2 Adventures. Our main header image is actually taken from that trip.
And
that's how epic it was.
The image I used to advertise this live is from
that area.
Denali
So
Highway.
that big view of the Alaska range.
So they have a 4x4 F-150. We have a Jeep, and we collectively went out and 4x4'd over this hill down into this little valley and set up a wood fire and a...
There happened to be wood just sitting there.
Yeah. So, and we had this incredible picnic. So I think it's stuff like that and also camping at Galbraith Lake was very similar in the sense that we just found a spot that happened to be epic, but you have to be open to doing.
You have to want to get out of your norm. You're going to get out of your motorhome and you're going to get into a truck and maybe even a tent and go experience something that you can't reach with your motorhome.
Right.
That was a little scary because of bears.
Well,
because there was quite a few fatalities of maulings. But the nice thing about up on the Brooks Range, there's no trees. You can see for miles. So when you had to get up and it never got dark. So if you had to get up in the middle of the night and
you're going to be able to
go
see
find
that
a
bear
bush,
eating you.
I could see if there was a bear nearby.
And I could see, and everybody could see what you're doing in that bush too.
Yeah, that was the difficult part. But we were far enough away.
My three favorite. I haven't done my three favorite yet.
Well, I only had two.
Oh, what's your third then? Well, you got Prudhoe Bay and you got Denali.
You know what? I really enjoyed Isabel Pass. It was cold, but Isabel Pass, we were there for fall colors, and literally every hour
something was changing.
Changed.
It was just, the colors were changing every hour.
It was amazing,
awesome.
and we didn't depart. We didn't exit Alaska until September 6th, so we really got to experience fall colors. The exodus happens around August 1st. So after August 1st, it really quiets.
Yeah. Back to the favorites. Again, I'm going to go with Prudhoe Bay with tops. I mean, that whole weekend experience was just
See,
epic.
You weren't even looking forward to it.
I was not looking forward to it, but it was awesome. I'm glad we went.
Sure, it was buggy and huge mosquitoes. That's the biggest place we had mosquitoes. And oh my God, were they bad. But we expected it. We were prepared for it, and it wasn't a bother because we knew how to deal with it. What's that? 100% DEET stuff we had. I don't know what it was. Ben's DEET, and that stuff works. Put it on your clothing, not on your arms. Second, I think I'm going to go with Isabel Pass, just because it was so beautiful. Those glaciers were so right there. And
we were there.
And the photo we have of the grandeur, how big it is. I mean, the motorhome is in this little teeny corner right down here, and it's just huge mountains and glaciers. It was just awesome. And then I think it's a toss-up between Valdez and Seward.
What
Valdez
part
and
of
Seward.
Valdez, though? On the water?
On the water. Oh yeah, being on the water. Yeah, not staying where we stayed. No, being on the water.
Glacier.
Not the glacier. But
however, that's not a legal place to park.
Yeah, staying in town where it wasn't legal, and then Seward was in town, or not in town, but just being on the water.
Yeah,
but
I need to go. We didn't go to Homer's. We had dinner with you one night, and we didn't stay overnight in Homer, so we can't use that as a comparison. That'll be next time.
And Boondock asks, when are you going back?
So I think we're all going back in 2019.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. And a lot of the group that we loosely traveled with this year that we met through the Escapers Convergence, a lot of them are coming back in 2019 as well. So,
but I would like to say, just like we started out this video about what was the biggest thing about RVing to Alaska, and I say Canada, I was not expecting that in everything that I saw and everything that we did, and I can't stress this enough, and it just blew me away that Jasper and Banff.
Oh my God.
Is absolutely the top of my list to tell anybody. And we've been to almost all the national parks. We've been we've been all over the world together. All over the place. And Jasper and Banff just absolutely blew me away.
I don't know what it is about the Canadian Rockies. They're just amazing.
What I'm excited about is we only live 2 hours from Canada. We never even thought to drive north.
We didn't think, but we just didn't do.
Well, and there's so much beauty up there, and we are really looking forward to exploring more of Canada. 2018, we're going to see a lot of Canada, all the way to the East Coast.
I think we'll probably, even before we take our next big trip, we'll probably head up into Banff next summer.
The driving a motorhome across into Canada is not as a big deal as everybody makes it out to be.
About the border crossing. Let's talk about the border crossing a little bit. You can download the current acceptability sheets from both Canada and the United States and all this and that. And
It all depends on the guy's
You can
mood.
be 100% compliant with whatever they ask on those pieces of paper.
And you're still going to get strip searched.
And you still may get strip searched, really. You might.
No.
Or you might just get flagged through. It's really a crapshoot. You never know what's going to happen.
Our-
Just be prepared to, either be boarded or give up
And
what they
Our
want.
hardest border crossing was going from Hyder, Alaska, which
Oh, yeah.
is a landlocked ghost town that has no border customs going into Alaska, coming back out into Stewart,
BC.
British Columbia. We think that was a training post for their customs agents
We got
because
drilled
we
more
got
there.
every question in
The only
book.
way you can get to Hyder, Alaska is through Stewart, BC. And there's nowhere you can go from Hyder anywhere else in Alaska.
Except
it's
back
just
into BC.
Back into BC is the only way to go. So it's kind of strange how they had that border crossing so locked down.
a big thing that I also can't stress enough, and they shipped firearms through the normal process, the legal process. Do not, under any circumstances, bring anything related to a firearm. That includes
No, handgun.
Clips.
Fire, let them go.
yeah,
Okay.
clips, ammunition, anything that you think, well, it's not technically a gun, so I'm just going to take it with, and I'll ship my gun. It could be a long rifle, it could be a handgun. Do not bring any of that. Now, we knew not to do that, but I can tell you at every single crossing, we got asked, do you have any firearms? Nope. You got any parts to firearms? No. You have any clips? No. You got any ammunition? No. So you're sure that there are no parts, clips, ammunition, blah, 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 in this coach? Absolutely not. Do not mess with it. They will.
We didn't
That,
have
it would
that.
be a bad
and
day.
that's one thing that the firearms are crazy huge in Alaska, in Canada. So watch out for that. We actually carried 2 shotguns with us through Canada.
And 9mm
We
ammo.
shipped our and 9mm ammo. We shipped our handguns from our home to Tok, Alaska. When we crossed the border into BC the first day,
We handed our passports
passports and a
and our
declaration form
paperwork.
to them. They looked at that stuff and verified the serial numbers on the paper versus the serial numbers on the guns
No, they didn't.
in Canada.
No, they didn't. They never saw the guns. That was border U.S.
Oh, it was
Customs.
U.S. Customs. You're right.
Canada did not,
Canada, you didn't
because
see the
we
guns.
had all the paperwork lined up. They were
Yep.
sufficient. We didn't get any of the questioning.
No clips.
It
no
was
ammo,
where are
no
you
nothing.
going? How long are you going to be in Canada? How much money have you brought in? And have a nice day.
Some alcohol questions, some tobacco questions.
And every border crossing was the same. We handed our passports and our gun declaration because we were prepared. We had no issue. So if you do it right, and we do have a video on how to do it right. Now
Click on the link below.
Yeah.
Right
Down?
now.
Yeah, we're not going to put that one in. This is live.
Do
You
not-
can do it after.
Yeah.
do not
Don't screw with them.
Well, do not take handguns across the border. It is only good for certain length long guns. So, and we only had shotguns.
Somebody asked if there's boondocking in Banff. I don't know the answer
There's
to that.
boondocking on the Icefields Parkway
At Saskatchewan Crossing?
at Saskatchewan Crossing, and it's called the Crossing
The Crossing.
Resort.
Mhm.
You're only allowed one night starting at 3 p.m. You have to be out by 9 a.m. And they only have room for about 10
I
rigs.
should remember that. That was like the first in our trip.
It was day 2.
At the Ice,
Oh,
the
Icefields Parkway.
Discovery
Yes.
Center.
Icefields
You
Parkway
do
Discovery Center.
pay
Yeah.
at the Discovery Center. It's $15.70
$15,
Canadian, and it's just a huge parking lot. And
A
that's
level
what we
parking
With
did.
a
lot.
great view.
Unlevel parking lot with a
You're
great
at
view.
the toe of a glacier, and yeah, it's not level. But what we did is we left Cranbrook and went to the crossing, which was a
Oh.
good day drive.
Home Hardware, Cranbrook. Free parking.
But we boondocked at the crossing, and then we went 40 miles up to the Discovery Center, and then parked there the next night. And that's sufficient to really explore that area.
Well, we did 2 nights at the Discovery Center.
No, just one night. We got there so early because we only
Oh, that's
drove
right.
30
30
miles
yeah.
that we had that whole afternoon to explore.
But the parking in Banff at RV parks, there are a lot of national park campgrounds. The one that we stayed at, is the only one, the only national park campground there with full hookups. But there are hundreds and hundreds of sites with full hookups at that campground.
When she says hundreds, she literally
we
hundreds.
were in like site 500 and something.
Out of 700 and something sites.
Right.
Wow.
So
700?
Yeah, 700.
And this was the
Wow.
150th
150th anniversary.
anniversary. So I know the parks were really busy
they
this
were
year.
busy, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of campgrounds in Banff that are close to town, and there's shuttles that run back and forth between the campgrounds and town, so you don't have to drive if you don't want to. I think the ride in is free and the ride back is $2 a person, so they make it really easy to get around town because
Good night, Brenda. Thank you for joining us.
downtown Banff has a lot of traffic, but there's plenty of RV parking. Reserve in advance because it does fill up, though.
As for money,
From Texas Roadrunners.
the question, should you exchange money while going through Canada? Our first night, we boondocked, so we didn't worry about it. But then, like, oh gosh, we need money. We
hit up an ATM.
hit up an ATM. You get the best rates when you go through an ATM or a bank.
Credit
and
card.
just also check your credit cards because some have foreign transaction fees, some don't. But we pulled out 200, and that lasted us
All the way.
almost to Watson Lake. Then we pulled out some more, and then we had some money left over that we carried with us all summer. So we had some Canadian dollars when we entered and came back down. You don't need to exchange before you go, and you'll actually lose out on that deal.
Yeah, if you do the exchange at an ATM with a credit card, it's probably the best deal.
The only thing that I will tell you, if you don't exchange before, and we didn't, we went to an ATM just like they did when we got there. If you're planning to stay in a provincial park, the first night that you're in Canada and you do
cash.
not go to an ATM, they only accept cash. They will accept U.S. currency, but it will be
At par.
at par. So if it's, $15 Canadian, they will take $15 US. Just
How
know,
kind of them.
Just
And-
know
Yeah.
you're paying the
That
difference.
happened
Well,
to us.
when we're there, the exchange was at 30% in our favor, so our dollar was $1.30 of theirs.
I was like, well, hey, here's
So-
an extra donation then.
so at one of the campgrounds, Liard Hot Springs.
It's
Liard Hot
worth it to
Springs.
donate to the parks.
We
though,
donated
'cause
to the
they're-
parks.
By
They're
the way,
gorgeous.
Liard Hot Springs, if you're going up the
Alcan?
Alcan, there's no cell signal there, but you've got
You
to
must.
stop.
You must stop at Liard Hot Springs. It's just the most wonderful hot
And
springs ever.
It's a bath.
Yeah.
It's nice.
We're slowly running out of questions, you guys.
Yes.
Is there anybody else there that has any other questions that we can answer for you? Again, our trip to Alaska was something else. One of the most
Amazing.
memorable things I've done. And we're going to do it again because there's too much to do in one trip.
Yeah.
Do not expect to be able to do it all in one trip.
No.
Well,
Plan your route. We had
our route was awesome.
our route was really cool. We entered through Tok or Top of the World, came down to Tok, went up to Fairbanks, over to Denali area, then down to the Kenai area. That's a
We
real general route, but it
we
was
arrived
really
in the
great.
Kenai right when the fish were starting to hit.
Yeah.
And the fish don't come in. There's an early run,
Mm-hmm.
but the summer run doesn't
Yeah.
really start until end of July.
There are many options. Once you get to Tok, you can go north or you can go south, and I don't
We
know.
didn't know what we were
We
going to do.
didn't know what to do until we were there. We went north, and everything worked out great. You guys went the same way, and
Yep.
I don't know what the reasoning was behind that specifically, but
We
You
were
gonna talk
following
about
you
the
guys to
milepost?
Fairbanks.
So somebody was asking about what are the books on the table and stuff like that. The milepost, everybody probably knows about this if you're researching going to Alaska.
That's the 2016
That's a
version.
2016.
Yeah.
We had the 2017.
17.
This is just a line by line for a
Each
given
highway.
route,
mile by mile for
mile
every
by
highway.
mile, and milepost to give you stops and all that kind of stuff. Invaluable, absolutely invaluable.
You really do. You really should get this because it tells you
And
a history of the highway. What mountain is that in the view?
If you go
And-
by a marker, like the history marker, 9 out of 10 times the verbiage on that sign will be in here.
Yeah.
So
And we've seen online and on Facebook people complaining about they it just didn't give them value. And I think it just depends on what kind of person you are.
And how you use it.
And-
I mean,
Yes.
I literally would sit there, you know, if he was driving, I would sit there with it in my lap in the passenger seat. And, you know, as we drove all throughout the day, I'd be reading interesting tidbits, interesting history. This fire happened at this time. You know, there's a rest area
Yeah.
coming up in 10 miles.
Well, I
We
think
really got a lot of
it
value
was
out
because
of
of this that we went on a little side trek with our truck and went to the curved bridge.
Yes.
You know, that's not anywhere.
Well, not only that, that was Nick Nudell.
Oh, Nick Liddell did it, but
Yeah,
yeah, he was
he
great
did
too.
it first.
But you know that I don't know where that was, but outside of Watson Lake.
No, that
Oh,
was
outside
Dawson
of
Creek.
Dawson Creek. There's a historic part of the Alaska Highway
Mile
that is
marker
not
21.
used anymore for the primary road, but it's the longest curved bridge structure currently in the world, or something like that. You know,
So
it was kind of cool.
how pet friendly were the crossings? We don't have any.
Hold
pets.
on, hold on. Another question popped up real quick about the milepost. How important is it to have the latest version?
Well,
We ran with 2016 this year. You guys had a 17.
We had the current version.
We had all the secret places they didn't know about.
The only thing that
Really?
having the
Really?
16 that led us astray is in the beginning, because we went up so early. We drove 100 miles to go to Eagle, Alaska to see a national park.
Oh, and the dates were off. That's right.
And we thought it was going to be open comparing to last year, and it wasn't open for another week. So we still got to see it, but we didn't get to enjoy the
National
exhibits.
Park.
And
So.
we just thought because it was the same weekend, the first weekend of June, that it would be open, but it wasn't. So
And that's also why there's a map in the milepost. But you would think that these are kind of old school. But when you're up in some of these areas
You
that you
need
don't
them.
have
It's
the
wonderful.
connection, having
Paper.
the milepost and having a paper map, which the milepost actually has one.
this is the
That's it.
milepost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is.
So having that is really critical.
And we made sure we had paper maps of each providence and territory
Mhm.
as we went up. And you can grab these at the visitor centers.
Most of them are free.
Almost every town has a visitor center.
So how pet friendly were the crossings?
Pet friendly,
Simple.
easy, a breeze.
Make sure they're up to date with
Yeah.
rabies certificates.
Well, we had our full pet physical before we left home here, and had all that certificate, all that documentation, as well as their shot records. And I think really they only asked us if they were current. They didn't show proof.
No, top of the world. U.S. Customs wanted to see their
Okay.
vet bill. That it was past the 10 days that their certificate was good. However, all other border crossings, Sophie wasn't in the window, so they didn't even know they were on board.
Yeah. So the pets were very easy. You know, have your pet physical done just in case, and have your rabies, of course, up to date. But it's really easy.
We did
no
not
problem.
get a health check for the exit and
Nope.
coming back down. We just said our certificates are good, and they were okay with that.
So the next question: should I make reservations ahead of time for the halibut fishing trips?
No.
we went
I
at the
wouldn't.
height of it. I would say no.
No.
Just you can get on a charter.
If
And-
you're going to Denali, however, if you're going to camp at the Technonica campground inside Denali, yes, you need to make a reservation ahead of time because that campground does get full.
And I think it's in December when that opens up. But these books, I mean, they mostly say you just can't book within either 24 or 48 hours. They need at least that much notice. All of our tours,
We're almost
none of them were pre.
No, everything is almost day of.
I will
Or
say
do.
though, for the halibut fishing tour that we did not use anything from here because those were full. And because I tried to book, I think a week or a
Excuse me
week
a
and a
second.
half in advance, and all of these tours were full, so I had to book separate. But I actually didn't end up paying much more separately for the tour that we did than what was being offered in these books.
So another question is, hitting a moose or deer in Maine is not very common. Is that an issue with large roadkill in Alaska? Now, I will tell you a couple different things about that. In Alaska, you're not doing 70, and you're not even doing 55 most of the time.
No.
You're doing 45 or 50, so that does help. The roads
There's no
generally are,
deer.
it's a much wider. There's no deer. Deer are like spastic, as everybody knows. in the
There's
lower
no
48.
deer.
There's
Yeah,
no
that's what I said.
deer.
There's no deer.
Yeah.
So moose are an issue, but we never came across one or that was an issue. But what I will
had
say,
one.
Yeah.
what I will say is that we run every day, and we, as far as wildlife goes, we're very concerned about coming across not necessarily a bear, but a moose.
I was worried about a bear.
Well, I was worried about a bear too. So
you have to be aware of both.
yeah.
Yes.
So
100%
and
all the time.
there's two different dangers there, and a moose could actually be more dangerous. So we carried bear spray, which is also sometimes effective on moose, but there's different techniques that you would use. And we did, Janine and I scared a mother moose and a calf very inadvertently, and I got very, very close on accident. And I was on a paved 2-lane road. I couldn't believe that the moose thought it was safe to cross there, but she did.
She wasn't watching the signs.
And she was on the other side of a hedge. She didn't know the moose crossing was further up.
Right.
But anyways, I got very close to her, and I stopped, and I had to back up, and she saw me. So just if you're the type to go out and be running or hiking, those kinds of things, bring bear spray. Crossing the border with bear spray is not an issue.
Not an issue.
And
They
we
will ask- they may ask you about it.
everywhere take
Have it with you
bear
everywhere.
spray.
Yeah.
On our 4-wheeler trips, we had it with us. In our truck hikes, we had it with us. In
Always.
our hikes, we had it with us.
Although we only saw bears in
In
Denali.
For some reason,
That
the
was
bears
it.
only exist
Or
in Denali.
Canada.
or
We
Canada.
saw
Canada.
lots of bears.
Lots
in
of
Canada.
bears in Canada.
And talking about the roads and the moose and animal crossing roads, in all of Canada and most of Alaska, they maintain their roads differently than they do here. It's not just the roadway and a little shoulder. They clear out a 100-foot section on each side of the road,
Yeah.
or more, 100 to 200 feet. It seems like.
So you can
So
see
it's a
them.
very wide
and they
roadway.
can see you.
So you can see the approaching animals from the sides well before they get to the road. And it really is. I think that helps a lot
Yeah,
with
tremendously.
any
And-
kind of impact.
And it's not dark, so you're not having to worry about hitting them at night.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We when we were driving down to visit you guys, actually we were driving
driving
home
home.
from Homer.
From Homer.
We had a moose that jumped out. Well, he was right alongside the road
And he was he.
and scared us, but very very little wildlife. I mean, you think about it. There's very few roads, so they're most likely going to be off in the woods
Mhm.
versus on the road,
Mhm.
except in Denali.
They were near the road. Near the
Yes.
road. I think you got a closer shot than we did.
So another question about dogs. We already answered that. So I think we'll just give it another minute
Give it
or
another
two
minute or two.
if anyone else has any questions.
Any other input you guys want to put in there? Let's talk about bugs a little bit.
Oh.
You know, Alaska's state bird is the mosquito. I didn't find that to be so true.
It depends on where you were, I guess.
And what time you were. But in our travels, when we got to Fairbanks, yes, the bugs were bad in Chena Lakes area.
Yeah.
They were really bad there. And then, of course, when we went to, as I mentioned before, we went to Prudhoe Bay and staying on the north slope of the Brooks Range and the
A
tundra.
little buggy at
They were
Isabel
bad.
Pass, but it was getting cold.
But Isabel Pass wasn't bad. But everywhere else, once we got south of Fairbanks, Denali even,
Yeah, it
wasn't too bad. Oh, Seward, when we did the Exit Glacier hike,
Yeah, it
those
was
black
buggy.
flies were kind of crazy. But overall, in general,
I have another
Tolerable.
topic. I've seen a lot of people saying, "What about investing in going in a caravan?"
That's a good one.
Well, we have a couple of friends that we traveled with last winter who joined a caravan this year to Alaska, and they enjoyed their trip for the most part. Every day was planned. You travel from RV park to RV park in a group.
It's all covered.
It's
Your
all-
RV parks, your reservations.
Yeah, your RV
your
park
tours.
reservations, your tours, and all that are covered.
They did all of
There
Alaska.
was a little bit of leeway in, when they needed to check in, and I think there were
They
a
had
couple.
some
They
free
had a
days.
couple of free days, but they felt very restricted because they would drive by a spot that they really wanted to stop at
And there's
see
a lot
and
of those.
enjoy,
There's a lot.
and they couldn't because they had to be to this pre-reserved site, paid for site. So they had to stop, or they had to pass by this beautiful wherever it was to catch up to the rest of their group. But on the other hand, of that safety in numbers is there too. You know, you're traveling with somebody else, and you can always you have another set of hands to help out.
When we went up, we had no idea that we would be loosely traveling the entire summer. We just knew that they were going to be in Alaska and we were going to be in Alaska. I think it was a nice safety net. You were never far enough away that you couldn't help if one of us were in trouble.
Yeah,
and that was totally unplanned.
Yeah, but it worked out.
Traveling
well.
loosely together like we did as a group was awesome.
Sometimes it'd be 100 miles away. Sometimes they'd be a half a mile away.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes we were parked right together.
The whole caravan idea, it could be for some. It's not for us.
Well, and what I would say is I know that there's some people that prefer to travel like that and they like having everything planned and they like the structure. And so for them, it's really great. But if you're thinking about joining a caravan because you're not sure if...
apprehensive about traveling to Alaska?
Exactly. Don't do it for that reason because traveling in Alaska is not much different than traveling in the lower 48.
And actually, there's not very many roads, so you keep seeing the same people, and
you don't get lost,
and then you get to know them, and then they become your traveling buds too.
Yeah.
So yes, like you said, and I think I just said too, caravans are for some. Mm-hmm. I don't think at this point in our life I'd ever book a caravan.
No. Well,
now I know Escapers is coming up with something in the future and talking about some other plans with maybe a caravan travel, but I wouldn't do an organized everyday stop trip. It's just no good.
It's just different people, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah. Stop that.
Anything else?
What did you use to cover windows and vents? We
is
that for the daylight?
For the daylight. So I went to Walmart and I was looking for anything. I was looking at carpets, I was looking at towels, I was looking at what can I put up, and I ended up finding a blackout curtain for a house, which I bought that, and then we brought it and we took one of the layers off and we just kept the true blackout fabric and we cut that out, and
we took some Velcro. With double-sided tape, and then we Velcroed the hard side and the soft side to the. We actually have like the ceiling that's got kind of like almost like a really short carpet kind of thing.
Yeah, so the Velcro stuff.
Mouse fuzz.
Yeah.
Mouse fur.
Airstream.
Yeah. So we kind of had it down to where we could black out the coach.
Yeah.
I think the only thing we had exposed our window shades are dark, the blackout shades, and they have the legs that come down the side of the window, so that there's no light penetration there. The only light penetration we really had was the dome in the bathroom.
That's what we had to black out.
Yeah.
And
a couple of those.
For ours wasn't that bad.
We
made it work.
But some people I saw used aluminum foil. So there's a lot of different options.
Ours was reusable. That's why we made it to where we could just stick it up and then take it down in the morning.
Well, now if you need to take naps in the daytime and all that stuff, on the lower 48, you sure can now.
The other thing too is we had one emergency exit window that did not have a screen on it. And before I left, I concocted a vinyl screen and with Velcro so we could place it up there so we could prop the window open and have airflow and not get any bug intrusion.
Yeah, that was just a little modification we made at home here. It was really nice.
Well, we've been online for an hour and 17 minutes, so I think...
Call it good.
We had a great turnout. We want to thank you all for...
Couple of final thoughts before you go? We're all good. We want to go.
Final thoughts?
We're good.
Can't wait for 2019.
If you have questions about anything we haven't covered now or as you're planning your trips, definitely feel free to reach out to us. I think, all of us are more than happy to answer any questions. We're speaking from personal experience. We're not experts on the topic, so we can only share what worked for us. But we're happy to do that.
Yeah, it was a great experience. We loved every bit of it.
There's a couple of Facebook groups, RVing to Alaska, 2017. Janine and I admin that, and there's tons of information on there. You can go look. There's now a 2018 group, so RVing to Alaska 2018. We'll be checking in and giving advice, even though we're not on the trip next year.
And if you're an escapee or an escaper or escapee, and you're going to
to Escapade.
the Escapade
in
in
Sedalia.
2018,
Yep.
we'll be doing a whole presentation. Janine and I will be doing a whole presentation. We'll be there live instead of via satellite like we were today.
Yep. And
on this whole subject.
we'll be focusing a lot on how to RV to Alaska and still work full time, but we'll address other questions in that presentation as well.
And we're not going to try to sell anything.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Escapades.
No,
100%
no motive
informative.
here.
All informative information.
Yeah.
You know, if you're thinking about it, do some general planning. Get a basic route.
Get a milepost.
Get a mile post.
Yep. And don't worry about it. Just go.
We went with
Yes.
only 2 reservations
Yep.
for Denali National Park just because it's necessary to get it early, and for our Alaska
Convergence.
Escapers Convergence.
Mhm.
Those were our only 2 reservations the entire summer.
And we had no problems finding a spot to park. So
Yeah.
do it. Don't be afraid. The roads are the roads. Drive as you need to. If you need to go slow, then go slow. And you know what? You'll see the scenery better than the next person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, we want to thank you for joining us. Please leave us any comments down below. Janine or myself, Brock, Gary will all
That's
be
the pecking
answering
order
questions.
right there, I guess.
I think so. Let's see, Brock, are you going to answer more, or am I going to answer?
Evidently, Janine's going to answer questions.
And if you like this video, please give us that big thumb up and hit that subscribe button if you
Right.
haven't
So we're
already.
Again, we're Pau Hana Travels.
Yep. And
And
then
J9B2 Adventures. You
we'll
guys
be sure to put their link down
a
below.
bit of YouTube and Instagram and all that stuff. Facebook. So
But we want to thank you for spending a good hour and 20 minutes with us tonight. Sorry we were a little late coming to the table. We had some technical difficulties, but this was fun.
yeah. And again, we'll answer questions if you have any more to go on. So
All
talk to you
right,
guys later
guys.
on down the road.
Thanks,
Until
guys.
next time,
Pau Hana.
Pau Hana.
Peace out.